thank you for being with us this year at SorceryCon 2026. We got Alan Pollack, Sam McKinnon, Vincent Pompetti, all the way from France, so really exciting. And actually, Sam from Canada, another international artist. I always think of Canada being so close, almost like the U.S., but you are qualify as an international artist. And Ed Beard Jr. and Drew Tucker. So we can pull up another cheer for Drew.
How many years your this gorgeous cushion?
Yeah.
Oh.
So these guys are, I think all of you are pretty much regulars at a lot of community events, so thank you for ingratiating yourself with the community. I think it really enhances the experience. We try to make SorceryCon and a lot of the other community events that are going on around the world all have an artist aspect, which is one of the great pillars of sorcery, without a doubt. So really appreciate you all being here. A lot of you were with us in Vegas and came back, so hopefully that's a good sign. You enjoyed yourself the first time, and happy to have you again. And Drew had a conflict last year, so we're happy we got you out this year. And Vincent, like, as I say, came from France. So we're trying to bring the international artists to the U.S. as well to meet you guys in person. So to kick things off, I guess we just did a panel with a few of the altarists, and I asked a few questions. I monopolized a lot of the time, so I want to throw out a few introductory type questions and then welcome questions from the group here. But first, I wanted to give you each an opportunity to just briefly introduce yourself, and what I think would be interesting to hear is how you, Truitt Parrish joins the group. All right, so we got Truitt as well.
We're gonna watch out for your head right there.
Yeah. So what I always think is fascinating is like how you guys first got into sorcery. How did Eric discover you or first contact you? And how did you decide that you wanted to get involved in this project? Because that is often pretty unique for like an indie new startup game, and you get solicited a lot for all these opportunities. Why did you choose to do sorcery? Start with Truitt on the end.
Yeah, so I did college art at CU, and I did my thesis show on the War of the Roses. So it was the Yorks and the Lancasters, and so it was a lot of like battle scenes. And I had a portfolio page on ArtStation. A lot of artists use ArtStation just to show a bunch of their work. So Eric was perusing and emailed me through ArtStation. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but all my alpha stuff is like a bunch of armies. So I think he saw that and was like, oh yeah, we'll just throw all the armies at Truitt. And so my first two cards were Jihad and Crusade. And I don't know, a lot of artists have the experience of like getting an email from someone that might be a commission and it might be a scam. And so I was like, I don't know if this is a real game, but if I do the paintings, like at least I get some practice. And it ended up being a very real game. So then it just blew up from there.
Yeah, I was doing some design work for I guess one of Eric's friends for like a card game, and you know, being I have a history of Magic, of course. You know, he called me up, and that's pretty much it. I am a sucker for like a passion project. I really like. I like working for things with new ideas and like people that would really have something, and so that's kind of why I got into it. But yeah, a lot of it is I was kind of in the right place at the right time, and then you know, like my background history as well.
Let's grab a chair.
Sure.
So yeah, I got contacted through Jeff Easley, who I worked with at TSR for a while, and he just emailed me and said that there was a company from overseas that was looking for traditional artists and mostly old school Dungeons and Dragons artists. So being that I already was doing work for them for Dungeons and Dragons, I felt like that would be a cool thing to do, and so that was it. I just emailed Eric and told him, Jeff told me to contact him, and I was interested, and then I got a contract and received 3 paintings for him. I think it was the Werewolf and the Constrictor and Kobolds, that's right, those 3. So that was it. After that, I've been working with him ever since, and he's pretty awesome. So, and you guys are awesome, or else we wouldn't be here.
Brian, why don't you pull the chair up next to Truitt, and you go next, so we try to keep the order going.
You sitting here?
No.
So Brian, we were just asking each of the artists to introduce themselves, and how did Eric first reach out to you and pitch the project to you, get you interested in joining?
Eric contacted me on Facebook and just asked if I'd like to be a part of a card game, which I really knew nothing about. He had seen my work from a few album covers that I had done. He just asked me about doing one single painting, and he just gave me a simple concept for the piece. It was the Book of the Dead, which is now in Gothic. And we just kind of went from there. I mean, it worked out, and I think a month or two later, he wanted another piece or maybe a couple more, and he's just been kind of a blur ever since then. I've just been so busy painting. It's been a kind of a life-changing experience for me, so just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and on my end, I think I'm one of the newer artists of the group here. I was freelancing, doing like illustration and graphic design work I've been doing that for the past like 7 or 8 years. And it was actually Eric I contacted my brother, who's pretty famous in the Magic card community. You might know him. His name is McKinnon. And Seb actually was the one who kind of pushed me to send in my portfolio. And at the time, I didn't really trust my work enough, and I didn't think it was good enough to be part of it. I mean, like, all of you guys do, like, amazing work. But Seb really was the one who pushed me to send my work in. And Eric basically gave me a test. So the first illustration I did was the pond artwork in the Arthurian legend set. And then after that, since he liked how he gave me a few more pieces. And yeah, that's basically how I got into the game.
Yes, I do comic books, graphic novels, working for role-play games, cover art for novels since more than 20 years. And in the late 2018, Eric contacted me. He wanted to know if I was available to do 2 or 3 illustrations for a mysterious project without name, without anything. So I say yes, but nothing. But he was very clear on the condition, professional payment, and so on. So he did. A couple of months later, he gave me the first illustration. The first 2 were Call to Power and the Kite Archer. And immediately when I read the short description, anyway, I understood it was why he contacted me, because he understood me perfectly well. I recognized my universe, so it started in a very good way and never stopped. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, but you have the most pieces in Alpha of any artist,
Yes.
so you probably are aware, but I mean, very clearly your style must have strongly resonated with Eric's vision for the game, or at least that initial debut set. So yeah, we're honored to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Maybe I can say 2 words for Severin, because
please.
we live in the same, we are very close, maybe 40 kilometers in the same region. Mm-hmm. And she said, because she's working maybe 30 years in the illustration fantasy and so on, she said it's the first time she met a guy like Eric, because he's very precise, very short but very serious, but she felt free with him at the same time, so it's very precious.
Awesome, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm the last. Ed Beard. So mine was really weird. Mine was an email from Eric that just out of the blue says, by the way, I've been a fan of your work since I was a kid, following the early Magic the Gathering. I loved your Elder Dragons. And he said, I've been wanting to do something unique and special, kind of as a mini set. And he said, I'd love to see what you could do for us in the realm of dragons. Do you have anything in mind? Can we set up a call? And I'm just... Oh God, I haven't been in the game industry since 2005. I don't even want to deal with this. And then I see the key words. He said, and all of the work I do in every set is hand painted. And I went, all right, I got to call, because we're in the age of digital and AI. I'm going to try it. We'll see what happens. So I set up a meeting, called him up, and Eric is of course originally Swedish, so you get that language, you could tell clearly. And he's very short but very to the point, and it was very clear. It's like he was passionate. He said, "What do you have that is dragon related that you have not done anything with?" And I said, "Well, kind of." I said, "I wrote a book in 2005 called The Dragon Lord. It's a story. It's a world building." And I said, "It's based on, he uses the elements to build things." And he just says, "My game is based on elements." I said, "Well, then let's make it happen." So it was literally, because if you're going to do hand painted, I'm all about that. So yeah, so then he said, "I need to know your story." So we signed NDAs, and then I sent him my script and my book, and he had to take a look at 100 characters and pick 13. He had one particular interest that he wanted that egg no matter what. I said, "All right, we'll do the egg." And that's inevitably, it was a very unique situation for me, because it was really a license running from me to him to use my characters, my IP. And the beautiful thing about this project, which I never had the ability to do with any other publisher, is that the storyline and the characters are matched up with the mechanic. So the mechanics on those cards in Dragonlord actually are reflective of the character biographies. So it was really an amazing thing. But yeah, the beautiful thing about working with Eric is he's short, he's to the point, he gives you just what you want, like a sentence, and then he leaves creative freedom. So it's really refreshing. I didn't think I'd ever have this opportunity in my lifetime. I've been out of it for 20 years, and I'm like, I'm done. I've done my thing, I'm happy. I had 11 years with Magic, but it's just, this is like a second life. So it really is amazing.
Yeah, awesome. So Michal Nagypál has joined us as well. So I was asking, how did Eric find you to work for Sorcery?
I didn't have money and I'm looking for some jobs. And my brother is also artist. He recommended me a platform, ArtStation, it's Polish platform, and there is a lot of artworks, usually digital art, and I uploaded there several my artworks. And after 1 week, sent me a message, Eric, about Sorcery, and I didn't believe him. I think that there is some spam or something. But it was maybe 7 years ago or 6, I think, and now I'm painting also for Sorcery.
Yeah, awesome.
From this to.
And so Adam Kaspar is a friend of yours too. Did you get him into the game, or how did? What is your connection with him?
I recommended several people from my studio, and Eric chose only Adam Kaspar, and chose only one
Bedrock,
pieces for him, and some rock is. He usually painting landscape and a lot of rock.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Great. Well, yeah, our panel's grown quite a bit here. So if I ask you an open-ended question, it'll probably take hours. So we'll kind of shape this a little differently. So I want to ask you guys. Well, first of all, thank you all for being here, for attending SorceryCon period, and for being a part of this panel. It's really honored always to see you guys and talk with you. So let me ask you, each. If you could describe one piece from Sorcery that you think is most defining of your work, or you find interesting, or you're proud of how it came out, just choose one from all the sets. A lot of you have done many sets now, so it might be difficult putting you on the spot, but what is one piece from your portfolio that stands out for you from Sorcery?
Is it question
We'll start with you, Michal, sure.
Yeah. One piece or only that?
Yeah, or one or two.
I
if
have
you must.
For me, I have a favorite more like 10. Yes.
Yeah.
Another is a very it's difficult to change only one.
Sure.
I don't know, maybe famous. A lot of people like frogs. Play of frogs, and everybody you see my big posters there.
Yeah.
And original is a little bit smaller size, 25 centimeters to 35 centimeters, and I like animals, yes, and especially lizards, and especially also frogs, because I have a very colored colorful colors and yes, and I don't know what to say more.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great one. Thank you.
I care also some snakes and lizards in my studio, and no frogs because it's very difficult for care, but I like it, and painting like everywhere covered canvas like horror vacui, you know. Just so I know. I think.
Cool. Great one. Brian?
Well, I think my most defining piece is probably Pudge. It's not my favorite piece, but I like it. Everyone loves Pudge and likes to play
What
it.
was the art direction on that one? How did Pudge come
He
to
just
be?
wanted a big, just a big creature, a big ugly creature. And I think I asked him if he wanted something like a Jabba the Hutt, just a big formless kind of a shape. So that's how that came about. I don't remember too much else about it. I do prefer the promo Pudge over the. But I like the ones like Death Dealer, the Return King. But yeah, Pudge is my baby, so that's what I'm known for.
Iconic piece. Yeah.
For me, I think the one that's been on my mind as far as that question is probably Thin Ice from Gothic. A lot of people talk to me about, number one, my multi-figure stuff, because I have a lot of paintings with a bunch of characters, and then also people mention my mountains, and then Eric likes to give me giants, so that has all three. I just like kind of the story and the action that's going on, and people falling through the ice and running away and looking scared and stuff. And that has all the elements that I'm good at and that I like to paint, and I like it.
By the way, if I could insert a quick story on Pudge. We know Jared. You guys know Anger Worm from Discord. Jared's the guy that bought the original painting. So he taught me how to play Sorcery. I went to his house. He lives like an hour from me. So I go into his house, and in his dining room, he has the Pudge Butcher, like right hanging on the wall, the original painting. And I was like, "Your wife lets you get away with this?" And he was like, "Yeah, we got it there for." It was like around Thanksgiving time, so we got it there for the family dinner. So I think he was just busting my chops. I don't know, but he had a few other pieces. But it was pretty awesome to see in person. And really, I appreciate you guys all bringing originals to these events too. A lot of you do that. It's pretty impressive and amazing for us to see. But all right, who's next there, Drew?
I think it's an unfair question.
It's a tough one. I know you've done so
I can tell you
much.
what I don't like better than what I like. But yeah, I would say at the moment I'm really fond of Haystacks and Ignite, but I honestly think that's an unfair question. It's like which
I know.
Who's your favorite baby?
They're not here, so no wrong answer.
So that's going to be my answer.
That's a good answer. I like that.
All right. Alan
Man.
Pollack.
Yeah, I know I've answered this question before. I always say werewolf just because I don't really get asked to paint that kind of a thing too often. And that was, sometimes when you put the paint down a certain way, there's certain things that happen, especially if you're using glazes, there's certain things that happen where, like I start off with an acrylic underpainting, I put some oil glazes over, and like textures and things start to happen. And it requires me to not really have to do a whole lot to finish it. And if you're ever asked to edit it, it'll screw all that up. And it's just one of those situations when I painted the face of the werewolf where it was like, it just came together really fast in that way. And I was just like, wow, that is so awesome. Like I didn't really have to do too much to like punch some highlights and, darken some areas where it just came together, and it was like just better than I thought it would be. And it starts with the drawing too. The drawing's really important for starters, but that was probably my favorite. But other than that, I think like blue caps, the skin tones, and each character has a different facial expression that kind of defines what you can kind of almost imagine what the character's personality is by the way I drew the faces. So I was really happy with that one.
For me, I would say the Yellow Knight, because I really like to paint with like gold and like warm tones. Like you kind of see that in the pond artwork as well. And growing up, I was a huge fan. I mean, I still am a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings. So anything to do with like knights and horses, it's something that I've always liked to draw. And a fun story behind that one was I actually was commissioned to first do the Purple Knight, and my sketch was actually all done in a purple. And then right before I was about to paint, I got an email from Eric, and he said, "Oh, can you actually switch to the Yellow Knight?" And I was super excited about that because it's one of my favorite colors to paint in. So that would be the one out of the card that's done.
Do you have a favorite, Vincent?
I would say Sir Yvain, because it's very, very difficult, because this one I love since I was a child. All the medieval stuff, it's in my blood. Medieval fantasy, so Arthurian Legends was perfect, and I felt very free with this one. It was the very first for the set, and it was the first time also Eric gave me a big description, because there were a lot of things to tell. It was like a page of a graphic novel, and it was also very challenging because the player have to understand that there is a story behind the card. A lot of elements. I love all the elements: the lion, the dragon, the story of the crazy knight. So I could also invent a lot of texture, patterns. Medieval, I love that. Maybe I was a monk in the past, so I was very, very happy doing this.
Great one. Yeah. All right.
All right, well, this is, I would never be able to answer that question in all the years of gaming that I illustrated. I think a little over 1,000 different cards for different games and Magic. Everyone asked me that, I could never answer the question. But I can with the Dragon Lord. So Kairos the Archivist, which is right there on that t-shirt. There it is, there's my model, there you go. But Kairos is actually the aspect of time. So when the universe was being created in my world, the Dragon Lord wanted someone to archive and document all the creations and things that happened. And the actual aspect of time itself wanted to have a physical, corporeal being. So I had this storyline concept in this biography, and I thought, there's an opportunity for me to create this ancient elder librarian dragon in like almost the Library of Alexandria concept, but also including all kinds of creatures and things that the Dragon Lord might not have perfected, and so it's kind of his screw-ups, but everything to be documented. And so it was an opportunity to do a huge canvas. It's about 4.5 feet tall, 3.5 feet wide, and also 88 books, and have those books with actual symbols. I used ancient Norse and Celtic symbols, and those symbols were relative to everything from astrology, numerology. I had elements, we had metallurgy, horoscope. I had covered every subject, and every library book had a specific meaning. And then the colors were coded too. And that was color coded based on the element that it was associated with. So it was very specific, and it had storytelling behind it. And then it had the mischief of the characters like Sloofus, which is this little imp character that's looking in the magnifying, and he's wreaking havoc all around the Kairos' library. So it allowed me an opportunity to do a little comedy, but it also had this epic architecture. You're inside this thing. All the things I had never had a chance to do that no one ever commissioned me. So it was kind of like my opus piece in a way. And the best part was when I was working with Eric on it, and we were coming up with, how do we make his biography and his storyline work with the mechanics of a game? I had said to him, I said, well, the whole thing is he's literally constantly working to library and document everything. It would be kind of neat if we would force the player to have to document everything they're dealing with. And he's like, archive the realm. And that's what I'm like, I said, if this is going to cause, all kinds of frustration and pause everybody, I said, that's what this piece has to be for. So he come up with that idea, and he's like, oh yeah, we're going to make them stop, document everything that's going on the table. And I said, so this is going to be a well-known piece. Oh, it'll be well-hated, well-known. So yeah, no, it was both, for me personally, as a illustrative, creative thing, an opportunity for me to do stuff I'd never done with subjects I loved. but also knowing the mechanics and knowing what was going to happen. In my case, I did because I had a unique situation. This was being a licensed thing. And he wanted to make sure that the reflection of the mechanics worked with the biography. So I got to know that stuff. But knowing that and then seeing what happened, I thought for sure you guys would be like, this is awesome. We get to stop for a moment, kind of refresh, maybe take a photo of the game or document what's going on. And instead I got all the pushback in the world. It's like, oh my God, this is such a pain in the butt card. So it's both a curse and a blessing at the same time.
Awesome. Great answers. All right, so I'll open up to the room after one more question I'll throw out. So think about if you guys have questions for the group. But in all the years of getting to know all of you and working with all the artists across Sorcery, it seems you all have like a story. You all touched on how Eric's very brief, sometimes very precise with his guidance, but also very open-ended. So some things I've often heard is that every once in a while you'll get a card title or a description, and you're just like, what the hell am I going to do with this? What does this mean? How am I going to come up with a concept for this? Is there any piece that was particularly challenging or interesting in some way that really challenged you as an artist to come up with an idea? What's the hardest art direction, Michal?
Need starting first?
Yeah, you go ahead first.
Hardest is.
Yeah, most challenging piece, however you want to interpret it.
How to say this card? Just a moment. Someone's fair. You know?
What is it?
Someone's fair.
Summoning spirit.
Summoning spirit. Yeah.
Summoning spirit. I spent maybe I finding a concept and finding sketches about 3 months for this card, and after when Eric said for the last sketch, yes, I spent only 1 day for paint, yes, but it was hardest finding a concept, yes, but one sketch, one concept for what I sending for Eric. I would say I call it this Seria Crossroads. I don't have here a catalog, and I use this concept for my personal exhibition. And Eric don't want using this concept, but I'm starting painting more and more, and now I have 25 pieces about this concept, and two several large sculpture, and it was my largest project and difficult for painting for sorcery concept, yes.
Cool. Yeah, I think that one was included in the collector tier from the someone won that from one of their pledges. So that was one of the first ones we got to see from you. Cool history.
First one is
Yeah.
I think Tower, but Eric don't use this first one card.
Oh, the first one you ever did
Yes,
was not
because
used?
it was on landscape format, and Eric after changing to a portrait format,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it was for me only just training or something
Mhm.
like.
Practice. Okay, great. Thank you. Ryan, go ahead.
There's 2 that come to mind. One would be the Death Dealer, because you're following up Frank Frazetta, one of the most iconic paintings in history. The other one would be Endless Fence, which I thought, Eric wanted an endless fence. I thought, how can you make a fence look interesting? So that was a challenging one. I think it took me several attempts to get it to where it got to where it was looking kind of good to me, but that was a tough piece that I struggled with for probably 2 or 3 months before I finally got it right. So.
That makes sense. Good one.
I don't think I've gotten any like super abstract concepts. Like some of these guys have had stuff that you see it and you're like, how on earth would I even paint that, right? Like Elvira was talking to me about her chaos painting, and like, how did she come up with that? Mostly he just gives me like armies, or like, like Blessed Well, it was just like, it's so well that's blessed. It's pretty cut and dry, but I think mostly for me it's tough to make it interesting sometimes, right? Like whenever you get a prompt, the first 10 ideas you come up with are going to be something that everyone else would also come up with, so you gotta change it up, figure it out, make it tell a story that's interesting to you, and then run with that. And sometimes that can take a little bit of time, but I don't know. My prompts have been pretty easy so far. So.
Cool. All right. What do you think, Drew? Good.
I think crawling or creeping congregation, that was a pain. I was given, I mean, it shouldn't have been a problem either, I don't think. But, you know, because he gave me like a pre-test card that they were, like, I want to like this. But I couldn't get past, I hate cave crickets or crickets or wherever part of the country you're at. I can't freaking stand those things. They freak me out so bad. And so like all I could have in my head like was those things. And like anatomically, like people don't really crawl the way he's wanting them, like, but freaking crickets crawl that way. And so it took a while to get past cave crickets, or like cave cricket people. And then, yeah, I was up in Seattle with my son, so I made him crawl around. So I took weird pictures of my kid. You know, collaged something together and popped his head around. And, you know, eventually I was able to get it, but I couldn't get past fucking, oh, sorry. I couldn't get past cave crickets. Like, just, oh, I cannot stand those things. But yeah, so that one.
I'm sorry for your struggle. You sound quite tortured on that one.
Like, oh yeah.
I have to follow that up?
Yeah, it's always a tough act to follow.
Why did I sit next to him? Oh, man. So I would say Mimic was one where, one of a few times where I misread the prompt and thought it meant, you know, a chest that was also a creature. So I thought it was a guy where it was like a chest bursting thing where the creature was coming out of his chest. So I had this guy in like a Victorian kind of a night scene with a woman, and he was, you know, approaching her in an alleyway, and this thing was coming out at her, and I was like so excited to do it. And then he's like, that's not what I meant. Yeah, so then it was like, no, a chest that actually looks like a creature. So then I had to like, what the hell is that? So I had to figure, you know, redraw the chest and make it look like a creature, and you know, it ended up pretty. Of course, my son was like, "Oh yeah, that's a mimic," and I'm like, "Okay, well, there you go." But yeah, not quite what I wanted to do, but it ended up being pretty cool. And it seems like people like that one, so
It's a great piece.
thanks.
Yeah, it's cool.
For me, yeah, I feel like I'm similar with Truitt, where like my prompts were pretty simple, but almost like too simple. Where like I remember for the pond, like Eric was like, just do like a very like simple pond with an animal drinking, and so yeah. So for me, I was trying to think, how can I make that an interesting piece? So what I chose to do is make the lighting like the center point of it. So that's why I did like where the sun is hiding in the background, and the beast is kind of drinking, and there's like the light that's shining all over the whole piece. So that would probably be the one, and it was also for me, it was like the pressure to create something that, you know, would be good enough for that game, because as I said before, it was like my test run, right? So that was probably the one that I struggle with the most. So it's yeah.
For me, it was certainly degradation. You know,
Yeah.
Because the description was very difficult. I did the first sketch, but I felt it was not good because he said this is about a knight who have lost everything, his honor, his helmet, the precious clothes, the armor. So how can I show something he haven't anymore? So the first idea was all the clothes, the helmet, pen, like a dressing, but no, I cannot show this to Eric. So I asked to him more information, and he insisted on the desperate aspect of the character. So in 1 second, I got the idea to show the castle behind him, and he's leaving the castle with a simple clothes. So, but I was I was almost ready to say find another artist because I don't. But fortunately, sometimes it's like this. In 1 second, you get the picture, and it was. But maybe for a couple of days, I was lost. Yes, really.
Interesting. Ed, it's a little different for you since this was your baby, this
Right.
project, right?
Right. So, but I can speak to something that I'm currently working on, but I can't speak specifics. But I can tell you in this lineup. So everything in the Dragon Lord was my storyline, so I had a lot more control. But I have been commissioned since for other things that I can't specifically tell you about. But I can tell you this: the commission was a relatively straightforward, boring object. That I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not doing something boring, right? Now, and ironically, I guess I shouldn't have thought of it as boring because it's a very important thing, but not to me. So I was like, why on earth would he want me to do this, right? And then he said, well, because I think you can add that Ed Beard thing to it. And I went, yeah, I get what you're saying, but that's still not going to be enough. So I just thought on it, I went, oh, I'm going full bore on this. So I spent, I don't know how many hours on the preliminary line, but I took that simple object and I made it the most elaborate thing that is, without saying too much, it took engineering skills to create this thing, and it is literally functional and makes sense mechanically. So I did that. I sent it to him and he goes, oh, wow. This is not what I expected. This is awesome. So I kind of, in a way, I think I might be the only one to ever achieve that. You know, it's like, he was like, okay, go with it. That's all. You know. So now it's just it was a balance to be able to keep what he wanted, and yet not have it that simple, and yet still take it to that next, really, so that you're going to look at this when you do see it, and it's going to be, oh my God, I didn't realize. Oh, that's what it is, and that's the fun part, So that's my only unusual experience that, But that goes back to Eric. It's just he knows what he wants, but he is also very open-minded when you come up with an idea that might be a little better than what he was thinking. Mm-hmm. So and that's just such a unique characteristic in art directing that I've never had. In 46 years of publishing stuff.
Yeah,
so.
That's really what makes the game great. I mean, it's got an embarrassment of riches here to work with all you guys' amazing skill and creative vision. To be able to give us simple directions. Give me a simple pond and you get this amazing masterpiece that you produced with that pond landscape. You guys really take it to the next level. All right, so I guess we'll open it up. I think we probably have time for maybe 2 questions from the group, if you guys have a couple, and then we've got to let the artists get back to their booth downstairs. Go ahead.
Kind of opposite of the last question. I'm curious, you all have been talking about what a good art director Eric is, so I'm giving you a difficult task here. If you had to do that, what would be the prompt you would want? If you could have any prompt, what prompt would you give yourself? Like, what's a painting you would just love to get to do?
Just something weird. That's what I would like, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with him. That's what I would like too.
Oh, no, I would agree with you. Like,
Well, you already do weird.
yeah, I don't know. Like,
Eric might say this. Think careful. You might get the opportunity.
I like the challenge of whatever prompt I get, like, because it's, everything, like, I like to approach a problem for the problem that's given to me. So everything's kind of a different challenge, and I enjoy that. So I don't care whatsoever. Whatever it is, it's like, you get to come up to it. So, something weird, something kind of, I don't know.
As long as it's not crickets.
Pardon? No, that was good too, but like, oh, I couldn't get past freaking crickets, right? And I still can't, so yes, stop it. Oh, it's crickets.
I think a lot of us also have been, especially those of us who have done a lot of work for many decades, there are certain iconic images we may have done that become synonymous in your mind with, okay, like look at Frank Frazetta, right? We think Death Dealer. But then whatever we happen to be known for, you've done that for so many years. In my case, like dragon calendars and this and that. It's like how many different versions of that. I wish that, a lot of, like I do Renaissance Fair, so I'm involving with a wide range of audience, and a large percentage of the audience that loves fantasy is female. So that feminine aspect, and I don't get commissioned that, and it drives me nuts. So I'm preoccupied with all the work that's very masculine and very dragon, and I would really love to do a more feminine piece, all the elemental fairy things that I, seen in my world of fantasy and sprites and folklore stuff. So I personally think, I love it when we get an opportunity from any publisher, which gives us the excuse, because you're being paid to do this, and we can be taken away from the normal regimented expected work that people think from us, and get to do the things that put us out of our comfort zone, really challenge us in a different wheelhouse. And we get to explore, especially this many decades into a career, you look forward to that fresh opportunity to explore a different part of your creativity mind and conceive of something that, it exists, but how do you make it into your own unique way? And doing it in a subject matter that people don't expect you to do. So then when you present it, it blows everybody's minds, like, that's yours? And that's like, I don't know how other people feel, but what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think Eric's actually made some interesting choices too with some of the artists that I think are unconventional. Like I remember Drew telling me about the when he and Brian, like when you redid the Frazetta, the 4 Frazetta cards that were in alpha, he intentionally wanted you guys to make it very different and not resemble anything like Frazetta's work.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see which artists he selected for each of those pieces and your guys' unique take and your own style on those. So we have a year to kill in between sets, so those of us on the artistic spectrum are always trying to guess at what the next theme could be or what we want it to be. So this is an interesting question. Thanks for asking. Anyone else? Truitt, you got anything?
Man, I think I'd be a similar art director to Eric, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the only thing for me is a lot of times I'm really interested in the narrative of the painting. Like I want something that's really like feels like it's just before action, so you can get like kind of a kick of adrenaline when you look at it. And a lot of times I'll have like a subject reacting to the whatever I'm supposed to paint. Like an easy example is like Blessed Well. I had like a guy coming up on the well and being like, wow, like a blessed well. And he's like, we don't need the guy, just do the well. And then I did the same thing for Dave Vermees, The Worm Coming Out of the Book. I had a dude like reading it and was like, ah, and he was like, no guy. So it makes the person viewing the card become the person reacting to the card, which is interesting in its own way. So you're a participant rather than a viewer, which I think is cool. But I wouldn't have thought of that unless I had Eric tell me.
Yeah, it's got to fit the mechanic of the card. So Michal, we got frogs, reptiles. What else do you have in the garden you could bring to sorcery? Or what other concepts from your personal work would you like to bring to sorcery? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Eclipse, for example.
Was it?
Solar eclipse.
Solar eclipse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I don't know which one.
Yeah, you've done a bunch of eclipse pieces I've seen from your different concepts in your catalog book downstairs as well. Cool.
Is there any theme that any of you can think of that you would like one of the future sets to be, if you had a choice?
The tables have turned.
The audience here. Someone said Aztec. Yeah.
I want to see more dwarves.
Yeah.
Dwarves.
I want to see fewer dwarves.
Gnomes.
I want to see more cryptids.
Cryptids.
Yeah, that's fun.
something to do with like pharaohs, kind of Egyptian. I really like some of those pieces from Gothic. Love to see more of that, some more mummies and some more,
Yeah.
you know, African based.
Yeah, world mythology in general.
Greek mythology.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
That'd be awesome.
Cave crickets.
I don't know, I felt like a Lovecraftian kind of a cosmic art,
Yeah,
and
well,
it'd be
like
fun.
That'd be cool.
Celestials, abstract.
Tough to get that license for FFG though.
Mm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do any of you have a favorite reference book that you use a lot when you're painting or designing, you know, how you want to design your characters? Is there a book or something that you find really valuable for yourself?
I mean, with the internet, you really don't need a book anymore.
You
It's like-
don't have something on your shelf that you keep at hand?
The hardest thing is trying to get away from all the AI crap that's on there. There's just so much bad reference. You have to really, yeah, it's horrible. Just things with like 6 fingers and just all kinds of stuff. A head coming out of a butt. It's like, what is that? You look up a lion and there's like a head coming out its butt. It's like, what do you do with that?
It's not always AI.
For me, it's not a book, but I actually take a lot of pictures of myself, and I try to pose for the artworks that I do.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a bit hard, like in the next set, like I can't say too much, but one of the characters I had to draw was like a child who was around 10. But so you kind of have to think of it, okay, well, I'm not obviously that size, right? So that's a bit hard to pose for. But if ever you guys come by my booth, like I can show you some pictures that I've taken, and it's so funny, like some of the shots that I have to take for this, you know. But I just find it is easier in a way because you can really get the pose that you want. Because as you were saying, it's like it is hard to find pictures online for the exact pose or type of look that you are going for.
Yeah, for people, it's best to either have people pose for you or do it yourself.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if you're doing any kind of animal-related, creature-related thing, it's
Yeah,
like
then
you
you're
really
forced
need
to,
some
yeah.
good photo reference
Yeah.
of animals and combinations, and that's where I've noticed over the past year, like there's just so much AI animal garbage on there that it's like, holy, like 70% of it feels like it's just terrible. So you have to kind of get through all that.
No, that's true.
For me, I actually did recently get a couple books because I've been doing, I like to look at previous artists, right? So I like to find a painting that evokes the feeling that I want to do from someone who painted a long time ago and see if I can kind of get that same feeling. Like Shrine of the Pilgrim, I looked at Ivan Shishkin's work. He was a Russian painter and did like forests a bunch. And then Vanguard Nights, I was looking at Gustav Bauernfeind's work. He did like Oriental paintings of like the markets and stuff. So sometimes getting a book is pretty nice because it just like has every like listed painting. Like I have this giant book now that I got a month ago, Victorian artists, and just been using that, like trying to find paintings that evoke the same feeling that I'm looking for.
Great. Any last questions? All right, last one. You got it.
I don't know if you have time for this, but this is specifically, I guess, not for Ed. Do any of you have a narrative to the cards you've done or cards from other artists in the sorcery universe, multiverse, that like have a narrative or backstory in your own mind that like bring them or tie them together? Just like 1 or 2 cards from, if anyone has any.
I did do one that was based on Melissa Benson painting from Arthurian legend. The Returned King was based on her King Arthur, and I just opened up a picture of her card and had it on my desktop the whole time I worked on that piece. And it was just kind of a, you know, I wasn't trying to do anything that similar. I just liked the look of her card and the big shapes of color that she used, and it was really helpful to have that as a reference for that piece.
I tend to go towards like a narrative, like an overarching narrative. I was talking about my thesis show in college, but it had like two sides, the Yorks and the Lancasters. They're like the blue side and the red side, you know, kind of like the old Halo YouTube series. So a lot of times I'll have this like kind of in the back of my mind, like this sect of people versus like another sect of people. Like Spear Marshal, he's like in a red cloak. He was supposed to be like the leader of the Red Army, you know. So it's like little mini narratives, nothing like super thought out, you know, like Ed's, but just little Easter eggs and stuff here and there.
All right, I guess I didn't want to keep you guys from your booth too long. We'd probably talk for days. One of these days we'll have to do like a 4-hour session. We'll have to pay you or something for all the opportunity costs of not being at your booth. But yeah, it's very interesting to hear you speak about your works and your ideas. And obviously we're here largely because we love the work that you do. You really enhance the game and take it to the next level, and for players and art enthusiasts alike. So thank you very much again for being here. And please come see them at their booth and ask them more questions.
Also, to everyone here, you really have to consider how important you guys are, and what an incredible time we're living in, and how crucial it is that you continue to share this information about the Sorcery product, the fact that it's hand-painted, the fact that we're doing real human things, and not using the digital and AI technologies, because we are in a transitional time right now, you know, where the world is continuing to push for that extra 10 cents on the shareholder side, you know, to eliminate human relevance. And we are kind of the final frontier, and not just in the gaming industry. You can look across every type of industry, that every job market, you name it. And I hear it all the time from young people coming into our booths at the shows, you know, 3,000 a day, and they're all scared crap. And they're like, how do you stay relevant in this time? I mean, I was planning to go to college for bridge engineering. That job's been wiped out, this one. So my point to you is, it's very important that you not only support the game because it's fun and it's great and you have the appreciation of the art, but to share that and continue to develop that, because at the end of the day, human beings appreciate that which is difficult to achieve, not things that are streamlined, efficient. We're not making toilet paper here, you know? So robotics, AI, and all that stuff might be great for certain things we can't do, but we need to really, at this time, it's a major threshold change for all of civilization. And it's hard to imagine that this one game and this product's success is literally the only thing that's out there that's in a business sense and in a manufacturing sense, focusing on that hand craftsmanship and introducing it to young people who have otherwise lived their entire life in a digital world. So please continue to do what you're doing, not just for yourself, but for your future, your children, your grandchildren, everything. So that's something I'd like.
Thank you guys. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.